The words hit me like a slap across the face in that sterile conference room on the 32nd floor of Davidson and Associates. "She's here to support, not lead," my boss Marcus Wellington said, his voice dripping with condescension as he gestured dismissively in my direction. The 12 executives around that mahogany table didn't even flinch. They just nodded along like obedient puppies. My name is Valentina Rodriguez, and I'd spent 3 years climbing the corporate ladder at this prestigious consulting firm in downtown Chicago. 3 years of 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, and sacrificing my personal life to prove I belonged in that boys' club. But in that moment, sitting there in my perfectly pressed navy blazer while Marcus undermined me in front of our biggest clients, something inside me snapped. The meeting was supposed to be about the Harrison Industries account, a $20 million contract that could make or break our quarterly numbers. I'd spent 2 months developing the strategy, working late into the night in my cramped cubicle while Marcus enjoyed his corner office with its panoramic view of Lake Michigan. I'd crunched numbers until my eyes burned, analyzed market trends, and created presentations that would revolutionize their supply chain management. Every spreadsheet, every graph, every innovative solution came from my brain, my research, my sleepless nights. But when it came time to present my work, Marcus stepped forward like he'd orchestrated the entire thing himself. "Valentina will be taking notes today," he announced with that smug smile I'd grown to despise, the same smile he used when he took credit for the Morrison account success 6 months earlier. The autumn rain pelted against the floor-to-ceiling windows as I felt my cheeks burn with humiliation. Jennifer Harrison, the CEO of Harrison Industries, raised an eyebrow. She was one of the few women in that room, and I caught her exchanging a knowing glance with her CFO, Patricia Wong. These were successful women who'd fought their own battles to reach the top, and they recognized what was happening. As Marcus stumbled through my presentation, mispronouncing technical terms and completely butchering the cost-benefit analysis I'd spent weeks perfecting, I watched Jennifer's expression grow increasingly skeptical. He couldn't answer basic questions about implementation timelines because he had no idea how any of it actually worked. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to be his silent supporter anymore. I was going to show everyone in that room exactly what leadership looked like, and Marcus Wellington was about to learn the hard way that underestimating me was the biggest mistake of his career. That night, I sat in my Lincoln Park apartment, the city lights twinkling below like scattered diamonds against the darkness. My laptop screen glowed as I pulled up every email, every document, every piece of evidence that proved the Harrison Industries strategy was entirely mine. Marcus had made one crucial mistake. He'd left a digital trail that would be his undoing. I scrolled through months of correspondence, my heart racing as I realized just how much ammunition I had. Email timestamps showing me sending completed analyses to Marcus at 2 a.m. His responses that were nothing more than, "looks good," or "send to client." Draft documents with my initials in the metadata. It was all there, a perfect paper trail of his incompetence and my expertise. I called my mentor, Diana Chen, a partner at Whitman & Associates, who'd been trying to recruit me for months. "Val, what's eating at you?" she asked, immediately sensing the determination in my voice. When I told her what happened, her response was swift and decisive. "It's time you reminded them who you really are. And honey, I think I know exactly how to do it." Diana had been in similar situations during her rise to partnership. She understood the delicate art of corporate warfare, how to strike with precision while maintaining professionalism. "Document everything," she advised, "but more importantly, build your coalition. You can't do this alone." The next morning, I arrived at the office before dawn, my heels clicking against the marble lobby floor as security guards nodded their recognition. The 23rd floor was eerily quiet, with only the hum of computers and the distant rumble of Chicago traffic below. I had 48 hours before the follow-up meeting with Harrison Industries. 48 hours to orchestrate the most professional takedown of my career. I started reaching out to allies I'd cultivated over the years. Rebecca Martinez from HR, who'd witnessed Marcus's pattern of taking credit for women's work. She'd been documenting incidents for months, waiting for someone brave enough to come forward. David Kim from accounting, who had the financial breakdowns that proved my projections were not only more accurate than Marcus's modifications, but had already started generating revenue for the company. Even Tom Bradley, Marcus's own assistant reached out to me. "Val, I'm tired of covering for him," he whispered during a chance encounter by the coffee machine. "He doesn't even read the reports before meetings. I've been feeding him information just so he doesn't look completely incompetent." By Thursday afternoon, I had assembled a coalition of frustrated employees who were ready to see justice served. But I needed something more. I needed to ensure that Jennifer Harrison would see exactly who she was really dealing with. That's when I made the boldest move of my career. I reached out to Jennifer Harrison directly, requesting a private consultation to clarify some technical aspects of the proposal. When her assistant called back within an hour to schedule the meeting, I knew I had her attention. The pieces were falling into place, and Marcus had no idea what was coming. Friday morning arrived with a crisp October chill that matched my resolve. I wore my power suit, the charcoal gray one that made me feel invincible, and arrived at the office with a confidence I hadn't felt in months. My briefcase contained everything I needed: printed emails with timestamps, financial projections with my digital signature, and presentation slides showing the evolution of my ideas. Marcus was already there, rehearsing his presentation in the conference room, completely oblivious to the storm brewing around him. I watched him practice his opening lines, stumbling over the technical terminology I'd created. It would have been almost comical if it weren't so infuriating. At 1:30 p.m., 30 minutes before the official meeting, I walked into the conference room where Jennifer Harrison and her team were already seated. Marcus looked confused, checking his expensive Rolex watch. "The meeting isn't until 2, he said, his voice tight with annoyance and a hint of panic. "Actually, Marcus," I said, my voice steady and clear, projecting the authority I'd been denied for too long. "Mrs. Harrison requested an earlier technical review. Since I developed the entire strategy, I thought I should handle the questions directly." I watched his face go pale as Jennifer nodded approvingly. "That's correct," Jennifer said, her voice carrying the unmistakable authority of someone who'd built a Fortune 500 company from the ground up. "Ms. Rodriguez, we had some concerns about the inconsistencies in yesterday's presentation. The person who presented seemed unfamiliar with crucial details of his own proposal." The room fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the air conditioning. Patricia Wong, Harrison Industries' CFO, leaned forward with interest. "We'd like to hear your original proposal, Ms. Rodriguez. We have some very specific technical questions." What happened next was 25 minutes of pure vindication. I walked them through every detail of my strategy, explaining the reasoning behind each recommendation, with the confidence that only comes from intimate knowledge of the work. I answered their technical questions about supply chain optimization, discussed the risk mitigation strategies I'd developed, and showed them the projected ROI calculations that Marcus had completely butchered the day before. Marcus sat there, his face growing redder by the minute, unable to contribute anything meaningful, because he didn't understand the intricacies of what I'd created. When Jennifer asked about the implementation timeline, he started to speak, but I smoothly interjected with the actual schedule I'd developed, complete with milestone dates and resource allocation. "This is significantly more comprehensive than what we heard yesterday," Patricia said, clearly impressed. "Ms. Rodriguez, did you develop this entire framework yourself?" Before I could answer, Marcus jumped in, desperately trying to salvage his reputation. Well, of course, this was a team effort. "I provided the strategic vision while Valentina handled the technical details." "Actually, let me clarify that," I said, pulling out my carefully organized folder of printed emails with timestamps. "I can show you exactly when each component was developed and by whom." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees as I methodically laid out the evidence of my work. The silence in that room was deafening as I laid out document after document, email after email, proving beyond any doubt that the Harrison Industries strategy was entirely my creation. Each piece of evidence I presented felt like a nail in the coffin of Marcus's credibility. His face went from pale to red to ashen as his lies unraveled in real time. "This email from September 15th shows the initial market analysis," I said calmly, sliding the document across the polished table. "As you can see, it was sent from my email at 11:47 p.m., with Marcus copied. His response the next morning was simply, 'Good work.'" Jennifer Harrison studied each document with the keen eye of someone who'd built her empire by paying attention to details. Patricia Wong was taking notes, clearly documenting everything for their records. The other Harrison Industries executives exchanged glances that spoke volumes about their opinion of Marcus's credibility. And here, I continued, pulling out the financial projections, are the ROI calculations that were completely misrepresented yesterday. The actual projected savings are 37% higher than what Mr. Wellington stated. Marcus opened his mouth to protest, but no words came out. He looked like a man drowning in his own deception. Jennifer Harrison stood up, her expression a mixture of admiration and barely concealed disgust. Ms. Rodriguez, this is exceptional work. However, I'm deeply concerned about the management structure here at Davidson & Associates. We need to know that the person leading our account is actually capable of, well, leading. That's when David Kim knocked on the conference room door. His timing absolutely perfect. Excuse me, but there's an urgent call for Mr. Wellington from the senior partners. Marcus left the room reluctantly, his shoulders sagging with the weight of his impending doom. I knew exactly what that call was about. Rebecca from HR had finally presented her documentation of his pattern of taking credit for others' work to the senior partners. While Marcus was gone, Jennifer turned to me with a smile that could have powered half of Chicago. Ms. Rodriguez, I have to ask, was this entire demonstration planned? Let's just say I believe in being prepared, I replied, allowing myself a small smile. When someone questions your capabilities, sometimes you have to prove them wrong in the most comprehensive way possible. 25 minutes later, Marcus returned looking like he'd seen his own ghost. The senior partners had made it crystal clear. He was being investigated for misconduct, and effective immediately. I would be taking over the Harrison Industries account as the lead consultant. The promotion came with a corner office, a substantial salary increase, and most importantly, the respect I'd earned through 3 years of excellence. Jennifer Harrison smiled as she shook my hand with genuine warmth. Ms. Rodriguez, we're looking forward to working with you directly. It's refreshing to see real leadership in action. As she and her team prepared to leave, she turned back one more time. By the way, that was masterfully handled. You've earned not just our respect, but our complete confidence in your abilities. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new corner office, looking out at the Chicago skyline from the 35th floor. The Harrison Industries account became the most successful project in Davidson & Associates history, generating $43 million in revenue and earning me a promotion to senior director. My salary finally reflected my worth, and more importantly, my voice was finally being heard. Marcus was quietly transferred to a smaller department, his reputation in ruins, and his corner office now occupied by someone who actually deserved it. Tom Bradley became my assistant, grateful to finally work for someone who appreciated competence over politics. The best part? 3 other women in the company came forward with their own stories about Marcus taking credit for their work. My stand had given them the courage to speak up, and systemic changes were implemented to prevent this kind of behavior in the future. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's proving exactly who you are when someone tries to diminish you. And sometimes, supporting from the sidelines means setting up the perfect opportunity to show everyone what real leadership looks like. That conference room showdown taught me something invaluable. When someone tries to put you in a box, the most powerful thing you can do is break out of it spectacularly. Trust me, they'll never underestimate you again. And more importantly, you'll never underestimate yourself either.